Today we are talking about query letters and querying literary agents and editors of small presses. And since we haven't talked really about the do's when it comes to querying, that's just what we're going to do today, so stay tuned. Welcome to The Right Mama. My name is Jennifer Aline. I am a women's fiction writer, a freelance writer, and the mother of twin girls. Today's video, we are talking about the do's of querying, things you want to do when you query. The last video in this query tips little thing I got going over the last year or so talked about the things you do not want to do, because over the past decade of my querying, I've done a few things I did not want to do. So if you want to check out the don'ts, I have them linked below. But today we are talking about the things you want to do when you are querying a literary agent. First, I will give you a very fast snapshot of what a query letter is. For those who are writing novels, they have a novel that's finished and they want to get traditionally published, meaning they want a literary agent to help them get into a bigger publishing house. They need to write a query letter to get a literary agent or an editor of a small press. A query letter is about a one-page cover letter that talks about your book and tries to get that agent or editor interested in your story. And if they're interested, they ask for more and hopefully take you on. The reason I'm talking about query letters is because recently I have gotten back into the world of querying for the women's fiction book that I did have contracted with a small press, which I will also link that video below. But I do have experience querying. I have queried, I believe, all 4 of the novels I've written, and I've gotten actually pretty good feedback from quite a bunch of agents and some editors, and I was very close so many times to being able to snag me an agent, but we all know the query life if you've tried it out. It's tricky. So since I'm kind of back in the world of querying a little bit, just a little bit, I thought I would throw some of the do's your way. The first thing you want to do when it comes to writing a query letter is follow directions. Follow the directions. Before you even start writing your letter, you should also do research. I have a video on what to do before you start writing the query letter or start trying to seek publication, and I will put that below. You want to have that list of agents and editors you're interested in, and you want to follow the directions of what they want. Some of them may want you to email the query letter in the body of the email. Some might use Query Manager and want you to copy and paste it into Query Manager. Some may only want, this part and this part, and they may ask for your bio in a separate part. You want to make sure you are following the directions, and you can find those directions on the literary agency's website, on the literary agent's, manuscript wish list page, the editor's website. You can find the directions all over the place. Just follow them. Don't just send your entire book to the literary agent of your dreams and attach it as a file. No, just don't do that, because they probably won't open it. The first thing I suggest is follow the directions. Just do that. The second little do will be to make sure you include your genre and word count in probably the first or second paragraph of your query letter. Almost every single agent or editor of a small press want to know what genre you are writing to and the word count. And that's because if for some reason you didn't do your research and you didn't follow directions and you're just sending your book off to whoever, they may say, I don't take that genre, or, ooh, that word count is kind of outside of the genre and age category I take. So immediately, they're not gonna look at you. So you wanna make sure right at the beginning they have an idea of the genre, make sure, okay, I'm taking this genre, and the word count. You also want to make sure your word count is in the right amount for your genre and age category, and that's a whole other video I can do sometime. Make sure those 2 little factors are included near the beginning of your query letter. The third piece of advice I'm going to include is show your personality a little bit when you are writing your query letter. And this is something that I think a lot of writers are a little nervous to do because they want to stick to, getting the point across, getting the information there, getting the storyline out there, bam, 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 which obviously is super important. But agents and editors are people too. You're a human being. Surprise. They want to be able to kind of get a sense of who you are through this letter as well. And for example, I can mention that in my query letter for That Age, the women's fiction book that I'm kind of re-querying right now, just a little bit, not a lot. I don't want to throw it around as if I'm sending a bazillion letters out, because I'm not. I put in a one sentence, just, you know, bam, sentence kind of in the middle of the query letter, something like, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of family drama, and a whole lot of mojitos. And that sentence was that. That was the last part of kind of going through what the storyline was to get their interest. And I think that kind of showed a little bit of my quirky personality. It also showed kind of the easygoing read the story is. It shows that, oh, it's an easygoing read, but there's some dynamics in there that are a little dark. There's some funny, realistic things. So that one sentence showed my personality, and it also was a good way to kind of end the explanation of my story. So I do think that including a little bit of your personality is necessary, because agents and editors, they want to know you too. You are the person they're going to be working with to make your book baby come to life. They want to work with a human. So including a little bit of your personality could do the trick. Fourth, I think it's four. The fourth thing you want to do is include any connections that you do have to this agent, this agency, whatever. Include connections. And I don't mean, oh, my best friend is your cousin, or, oh yeah, my uncle works with your boss. Yes, those are all great connections, and those are things that make magic happen, but those are the exceptions. The connections I mean are maybe somebody had something on their manuscript wish list that you want to include. That's a connection. It shows you're on Twitter, and it shows you are looking and researching that agent. So if there's a sentence that says maybe they're looking for humorous fiction with dynamic characters or something, you want to include that and say you found it on their manuscript wish list, because that shows that you're searching for them and you're on Twitter, and that's a way to connect. You can also include that maybe you met them at a conference or a retreat, or maybe you met them at a pitch slam. You definitely want to include if you met them on a pitch slam. But since we are January 2021 and a lot of conferences and things like that aren't going on right now, this may not be very relevant. But in the future, if you're watching this, definitely include a conference, a lecture, a virtual, discussion maybe, if an agent had that. Include those things, because it shows that you, the writer, are reaching out, trying to connect in some genuine way to better your craft, and that you're serious about getting published. Kind of on top of that, if, again, you're on Twitter and you do PitMad or, another kind of Twitter pitch contest, and that agent or editor likes that or comments on it or whatever, make sure you include that. That is a connection. So any kind of little connection, use it. The fifth little bit of advice I'm going to throw your way is include comp titles. Comp titles, comp titles, comp titles. Comp titles are comparison titles. Other pieces of literature or media that your story compares to. That is huge. When I was at the 2019 Writers Conference, all I ever heard was comp titles. They're so important because it shows the professional that you can connect to another, popular or published piece of work with your story. And it kind of says, oh, I've also done my research. So including comp titles somewhere in your query letter is very important. I think I included mine kind of near the middle to end of my query letter for That Age and for my book before. I think maybe kind of after that personality sentence, it may have been there, or right before the personality sentence. It might have been right before. Definitely include comp titles. For example, for That Age, it's a women's fiction contemporary story about 3 friends, 3 ex-roommates who come back to live under the same roof 5 years after college graduation. So I compared that to Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants because it has that friendship connection. I also compared it to Good in Bed by Jennifer Weiner because of some of the dynamics, some of the adult interactions. And I also used the comp title New Girl, the TV show New Girl with Zooey Deschanel, who I love her. I just love her. Because Obviously, there's a bunch of roommates, they're adults, they're exploring adulthood, kind of just like my story. So those were the comp titles I used, I included them, and I put them right out there. And the last one I'm going to include is, do put a statement or a few words in probably the end of your query letter as to why this agent would work well for your story. And what I mean is, after you go to their page or their manuscript wish list and they are listing the things they're looking for, find a sentence that is from what they're listing, and maybe near the end of your query letter, write something like, with your interest in family sagas with LGBTQ plus characters in a dystopian setting, totally making that up, my book, blah, 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 would be the perfect fit for you. Look on their website, manuscript wish list, whatever, take something that they have written, put it in quotes in your letter near the end, so they go, 1, they did their research, 2, oh, this story is similar to what I'm looking for with these things, and 3, okay, I guess I only have 2, but it's important. And I have actually gotten some genuine feedback from a bunch of agents that thanked me for including that quote that I put in there. It shows that you're genuinely writing this letter. It's not a just copy paste kind of letter. You're putting something about that agent in there. So definitely scroll through their information, what they're looking for. Find a sentence, not too long of a sentence, something compact that you can fit into your letter, because you don't want this letter to go more than a page, and put it in the end, maybe second to last sentence or the last sentence, saying, with your interest in this kind of content, you would be the perfect fit, or something along those lines. So that is my list of do's, things you do want to include in your query letter. I could do more, I could say more when it comes to things you want to do, and I will continue to add to this list the more feedback I do get from agents and editors and whatnot when it comes to querying, if I continue to query other things in the future. So I'm sure that this querying series will continue. Thank you guys very much for listening and watching. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe below, hit the thumbs up button. I post most of my content every Friday with the occasional pop-up video here and there. Thank you so much. Stay creative and stay caffeinated, folks.